So, um, Niamh, how are things over in Ireland at the moment? What's the situation like?
Well, I don't know if everybody watching knows this, but until 2018, Ireland was effectively an abortion-free zone.
Yes.
Abortions were not performed in Ireland, and in fact, the number of women who were travelling abroad for abortions had also dramatically dropped. It had gone from 2011 to 2018 down by almost 50%. So, in many ways, the abortion wasn't legal here, and women were being helped in a very positive and progressive and compassionate way. And then, of course, that was all upended by the repeal of the Eighth Amendment in 2018. And Ben, how devastating that was.
Absolutely.
And for
It was a
everybody,
ferocious battle, wasn't it?
it was a ferocious battle for something that is so fundamental to our culture. What kind of a people or a country are we? Do we protect the most vulnerable in society, or do we kill them when they are most vulnerable and helpless? And so it was a battle, if you like, for the soul of Ireland. And sadly, so I think it left us with the realization that we have a broken culture, and that Ireland, has fell, I think, to the same forces that have made abortion acceptable everywhere in the world when it's sold in a very false way as being a compassionate solution to women in crisis. But we had to deal with that. We had to deal with the fact that our culture was broken, and we had to, if you like, pick ourselves up and deal with that reality. And one of the things we shared with people afterwards was, look, we have lost this battle, but we haven't lost the war. And you should take heart from the fact. And I was saying this to people who had given 35 years of their lives, because the Eighth Amendment was in place for 35 years. They had given, even before that, so maybe 40 years of their lives, to keeping Ireland a pro-life country. And I was saying, take heart from the fact that those actions, saved hundreds of thousands of babies' lives. And the conservative estimate is that over that period, 250,000 babies' lives were saved from abortion. So take heart from that and move forward with that spirit. And they did. And we looked, Ben, I suppose, at the things that caused the culture to change. And one of those, of course, is the media. So we said the media was so appalling in the whole decade before the referendum, constantly banging a drum for abortion, often just completely misinforming people around things like the death of Savita Halappanavar, which was about sepsis, was nothing to do with the Eighth Amendment. But they were so powerful in changing people's minds against lives, and we said we had to deal with that. So we set up Gript Media, and then we, just like Bernadette and yourselves, like you start looking at what are the other pressing needs of the pro-life movement. And one of them, of course, is frontline work, the incredibly important work that the pro-life movement does in offering women a real choice. And we get told a lot, don't we, Ben, that the pro-life movement is anti-women and that we're not about choice. But actually, the pro-life movement has always been made up of ordinary men and women who work night and day to give women real choice and to help them have their babies. Where the abortion movement or abortion supporters just offer them abortion, that's it. So you can see like the huge compassion that drives those working in groups like Gianna Care in Ireland and Every Life Counts, just like Stanton Healthcare that Bernie talked about, that are saving babies every single day. And that's tremendously powerful and important. And I totally agree with what Bernadette says. And you'd have this experience too, Ben. When one of the groups you're in on Facebook, a photo pops up of a baby that has been born because the pro-life movement reacted with compassion and love to a woman's crisis. And it's wonderful. It lights up your day. It lights, I think, the way forward for us all as we work to change hearts and minds and rebuild the culture that has been broken.
So weary sometimes and so tough, but then when you do have one of those beautiful stories when a child has been saved and it's there and it's held in your arms, it just makes everything worthwhile, doesn't it? It's all of this work is just worth it just for one child, is it one human life?
It is, because every human being is infinitely precious, and I think
Amen.
Everybody actually instinctively understands that. That's why we see the unborn baby in the womb, we see the born child, and everybody's heartstrings are full. People could say that's so beautiful, and that is why I think our culture is broken, because that natural instinctive compassion that people have for vulnerable women, for babies, for helpless babies, has been kind of upturned, if you like, by this relentless propaganda in favor of abortion, trying to sell abortion as something that is good. And you're so right. There's a beautiful group in Ireland called Every Life Counts, and they help families who've been given the news that their baby is very sick and might not live for long. And they are babies who are most targeted by the abortion industry. It's the same in the UK with babies with Down syndrome. The parents are made to feel their baby's life is worthless. And if you provide the right kind of support, it's incredible. Normally, like 90% of these babies are aborted. But if you provide the right support, you can actually turn that statistic upside down.
Yeah.
Where like studies show that 85% of those families will go on to carry baby and to pour all of their love into that very short life if they get the right care. And when you hear those stories, even since the referendum, when you hear more of those stories, beautiful stories about pro-life people who make these little tiny christening gowns for these little tiny babies, because when they're born, they're often very small. And the way everybody rallies around to make sure that baby's life is valued are so, so important. What's happening here as well, Ben, and I think it's important for people in Britain to know this, is that just 3 short years after the referendum, so we're only really 2.5 years into the provision of abortion legally in Ireland. Already all of the lies that were told to sell abortion, to get people to vote yes to repeal, are becoming evident even to the ordinary person. So for example, we were told we were told by our Taoiseach, which is your Prime Minister, right? Abortion was going to be safe, legal and rare. And in the first year, it doubled. The figures went from 3,000 to 6,666, like a really horrifying number. And they can spin that any way they want, but the ordinary person, many of whom voted yes, very reluctantly, were horrified by this. No normal person wants more abortion. That's a drum that Mary Stopes or BPAS or abortion extremists like to beat, right? And they talk about hashtag shouting my abortion, but the ordinary person knows that more abortions is not a good thing. So they're finding it hard to hide that truth, and it's becoming more, and we're using things like the Rally for Life to make that more evident. And they also promised there'd be no late-term abortions, and we've had shocking, deeply shocking revelations in Ireland in the last few months about late-term abortions happening in Ireland. We've had doctors who have provided those late-term abortions, who have carried out what's known as feticide, telling researchers that they got sick in the corridor afterwards because it felt like stabbing the baby in the heart.
Deary me.
Horrible. So it's the job of pro-lifers, of course, because the media do not want to cover this, to make all of this known. And so our Rally for Life next month, which is going to be a mixture of online events and local, socially distanced public events, real life events. Wow. So the central message of the Rally for Life is to rethink abortion, to get people to listen to the already very disturbing outcomes of the legislation and to rethink what they think they know about abortion in terms of the numbers that have shot up and in terms of the fact that late-term abortions are happening. So we're going to be online like you guys, maybe not in such a cool, you've got such a funky background there, it's amazing. We must try to match that. And then, as Bernie said, like, they'll be joining us in the north as well. We're going to have events happening all over the country, all at the same time on Saturday, July 3rd. People are going to be out in the public square in a socially distant way, but with powerful messages, saying simply they lied. 7,000 abortions per year is not rare. To give the Prime Minister's words back to him, and also pointing out the fact that late-term abortions are happening in Ireland. Let's raise public awareness, make people realise what's happening, and rebuild the culture that has been broken.
How can the viewers spread the word then, Niamh?
Well, if you go to Life Institute Facebook page or on YouTube, just like yourselves, or onto the All Ireland Rally for Life's page, and please help share the memes, the videos, and of course join us on the day. Definitely. Online. And so the real world events are July 3rd, and the online rally then will be the next day on July 4th. Love to have you listening in, love to have your support, and delighted to be working together. I think the pro-life movement is like a global community.
Definitely.
We support each other, we try to help each other through the tough times, and I hope we all inspire each other and give each other a boost when we need it.
Well, you definitely inspire me, Niamh. Yes, thank you for everything that you do for the pro-life movement. And yes, we are like family. It's great to have you as part of our movement as well. So we will definitely be tuning in, and we'll be definitely encouraging people to tune in and to get involved. So thank you very much, Niamh, and God bless, and hope that everything goes all right for you. See you soon.
So much.
Bye now, Niamh. Bye.